New ad from the group Republican Voters Against Trump is focusing on how the former president's legal issues may be a liability for the presidency. Let's take a listen.
I was wondering if you guys are hiring right now. I was thinking about applying for a job. Yeah, I was thinking about applying for a job here. I'm currently facing 88 felonies for detention of classified information. Do you all take people that have been found liable for sexual assault, trying to overturn the 2020 election, falsifying business records? I was wondering if that was going to be a problem.
Working with diamonds and jewelry. They're going to do a background check.
Yeah.
So that's the only.
So probably not.
Yeah.
So do you guys hire people that sexually assault other people, or?
We run a phone background.
Okay.
No, we don't. I don't think so.
Okay.
Donald Trump has been charged with 88 felonies and found liable for sexual assault. If Trump is too big of a liability to get a job at your local mall, he is too big of a liability to be president of the United States.
Wow. Let's bring in the executive director of the Republican Accountability Project, Sarah Longwell. Sarah, great to have you on the show this morning. I do think that it's unknown how things might change for Trump as these trials drag on, especially the one he's in now. And that ad kind of crystallizes some of the challenges he faces straight ahead. What are you seeing in terms of the liability for President Trump with the cases that are still in the future?
Well, look, as you know, I do focus groups with swing voters and voters across the political spectrum every week. And one of the things that we could see is that because Donald Trump has so many charges against him, there are so many different cases, the voters are having difficulty kind of teasing them out, understanding the difference. And because this one right now, basically because it contains the word porn star in the description, sometimes voters take it less seriously than they do some of the ones that we aren't sure whether or not will actually come to trial before the election. And so what we wanted to do with the ad is really underscore that Donald Trump's level of legal liability, this guy couldn't get a job at the local mall. Right. The idea that a fast food restaurant wouldn't hire him with his record. And so the idea that we would make him president of the United States again, like we get numb to it. Right. We get sort of numb to who Donald Trump is. And because it's always so much, it's so many charges, it's so many, felonies, it's easy to just let it wash over you. But we really wanted to underscore this is crazy. The idea that we would give this man access to classified documents, again, after the way that he handled classified documents, refused to give them back. I mean, there's just so many things about what we have seen from his behavior since he has been president. I'm not talking about even the person we saw who was president, but what we know about him since he left office that absolutely is disqualifying. And I think that because there's a numbness to voters, because you've got sort of two functional incumbents running against each other, people are sort of depressed by just sort of seeing a rerun of 2020. You do have to start showing people just how crazy this is. We're going to have new ways sort of wake people up to the insanity of all this.
Sarah, it's Donnie. I think that ad is fantastic, and I think the work you've been doing has been fantastic. You're doing, as you mentioned, a lot of focus groups with Republican voters. What seems to be the key button issue or issues that is resonating with Republican voters who are possibly going to be leaving Trump and going to Biden?
So when there's sort of these two-time Trump voters who have decided that they're out on Donald Trump, it tends to be January 6th. Like there was a break moment for a certain section of Republican voters. I know we hear a lot about how, and it's true, look, most Republican voters absolutely are tolerant of Trump's behavior, defend his behavior, have continued to go from, January 6th being a terrible day to now, supporting, saying that, the January 6th, the people who attacked the Capitol are hostages. But there are this subset of people, and I got to tell you, they tend to be older Republicans, because there are the Republicans who came of age under Ronald Reagan, who, still believe in a Republican Party based on limited government, free markets, American leadership in the world. And they're the ones who, after January 6th, said, I'm done. Now, not all of those people are going to vote for Joe Biden. A lot of them are still very tribal, but they will not vote for Donald Trump again. And then obviously there's also abortion is a big issue for a lot of Republican men and women. And then these court cases, there is still a group of voters who think that, look, if the president if former president is convicted of a crime, that makes it much harder for them to vote for him.
Mm-hmm. All right, Sarah Longwell, thank you so much. Charlie Sykes, I'm curious your thoughts. And like one of the most important swing states, if not the most important swing state of Wisconsin, how do you think the trials are going to play for undecided voters?
Well, of course, we don't actually know, but I continue to be somewhat skeptical that there's any voter that will watch these trials and say, hey, I didn't vote for Donald Trump before, but now I'm going to vote for the guy. Because, as Sarah says, we have been numbed about it, but over the next few months, we're going to be reminded who this guy is. And I think what this ad does is it highlights something that I think is really extraordinary. Kind of, run through the mental experiment of imagining what job in American society would Donald Trump be qualified for other than the presidency? I mean, we have saved our absolute lowest standard. You wouldn't hire him at the mall. You wouldn't hire him to babysit your kids. You would not hire him to be the CEO of a publicly traded company. You cannot imagine any institution of any school or institution of higher education hiring him. I can't imagine any corporation putting him on their board of directors. He wouldn't be qualified for any position in the U.S. military. Just go through all of this. So it's an interesting point. If you wouldn't do business with him, if you wouldn't hire him, if you wouldn't associate him, why would you give him the nuclear codes? Why would you make him the commander-in-chief and put him back in the presidency? I think that's a very powerful very, very powerful argument, and I think it will play with at least a subset of undecided swing voters.
Well, it certainly should. A critical question to be answered by those undecided voters over the next 6 months. Thanks so much, Charlie. Thank you to the Washington Post, Jackie Alamany, for your great reporting as always.
All right, good to have you all this morning.
Hey everyone, MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.